Hello, everybody. How's it going? This is the very first episode of the MULCHCAST, a weekly podcast type show where I'm going to be talking about just about whatever I want to talk about. Um, and this week I'm going to be talking about whether or not the Switch Pro will determine what characters are featured in the second wave of Smash Bros. DLC. And what I mean by that is there are certain games that are coming out and that are out that are not able to run on the base model Nintendo Switch. So I'm wondering if the Switch Pro or the Switch or new Nintendo Switch or whatever they decide to call it, um, if it is indeed real, if it is indeed coming out, and it is able to run games, say like Final Fantasy VII Remake, does that mean we could get like new characters from that game? Because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for Nintendo to push out another Final Fantasy VII character um, when they can't promote any software other than Final Fantasy VII base model, which is only like $10, I believe, on the eShop. And so I think like if they were to put like Sephiroth or Tifa as a DLC character, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, to me at least, if you can't push another game with that. Um, unless unless it's like say the other games. You know, I don't know. Like with a game like that having come out, like say Final Fantasy VII, because if they were to make another, um, um, because they're not making a new Banjo Kazooie game, and they're not making a new Fatal Fury game. So I can see why they wouldn't push for those companies' games to be put on the Switch, because you can already play a Fatal Fury game. Yeah, there's already Fatal Fury games on the Virtual Console, and getting like Banjo Kazooie, I think that I think that's different because it's owned by Microsoft, who is a direct competitor. I don't think they were trying to ask for too much when it came to getting Banjo Kazooie in Smash Brothers. But I think another Final Fantasy VII character would be different because um, there's a new game coming out, or well, there's a game that's already out, and we know that it's coming to PS or PC and Xbox. Whatever version of the Xbox it comes to, I don't know. Um, and whether or not it comes to Steam, I don't know. Um, so if it does come to Switch, if it does come to Switch, um, along with those, will it be because they released the Switch Pro? So like, if the Switch Pro launches say 2021 and it launches with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 or whatever it's called, um, could they also launch it with Final Fantasy VII? Because I think their big third party game didn't launch with it, but it came out the same year was like Skyrim, right? So I think they're gonna push a big third party game because even though Skyrim came out like 9 years ago at this point, um, it was still popular because of the special edition that had come out a few months prior to the Switch. So I think if they want to put another character in it, I think if they want to put another Final Fantasy VII character in Smash Bros., I think it would have to coincide with the release of Final Fantasy VII Remake on the Nintendo Switch, just like Hero in from Dragon Quest. You know, it kind of went with the uh, what was it, the Dragon Quest 11 special edition that released. So I think that's like the conditions for Final Fantasy VII releasing on the Switch, because I don't think they're gonna put a character for a game that was just remade where you can only play the first one or the original. Let me rephrase that. If they were to put Sephiroth or Tifa in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and people wanted to play the original game they're from, and they can only play the original, and then there's this new shiny version that's out, wouldn't they want to play the new shiny version? Excuse me. Wouldn't they want to play the new shiny version? And if they wanted to do that, why wouldn't they just go and buy a PS5 or Xbox Series X um, after that? I don't think a lot of people are just gonna like settle for playing a 20-year-old game, um, like like the original Final Fantasy VII. So I think if they were to say Tifa or Sephiroth or any other character really, like they put Barrett or Aerith in there. But I think if there was another character, it would be Tifa or Sephiroth. Um, but I think if they were to do that, it would have to have the Switch would have to have Final Fantasy VII Remake in its library or coming to its library. And I think the only way you get in that game to play on the Switch is if you made a new Nintendo Switch or a Switch Pro. And so I think whether or not they are making a Switch Pro, I think they are, but whether or not they are making a Switch Pro could determine what characters get into Smash Brothers. And I know all of the characters are already determined. Um, they're decided by Nintendo, obviously. The higher ups in Nintendo know whether or not a Switch Pro is coming out. So that could be the same with like say, but Doom Eternal is going to be on the Switch Pro or the regular Switch rather. It is going to be on the Switch. So I think Doom Guy is more likely than a Final Fantasy VII character, unless the Switch Pro or the new Nintendo Switch is in fact a thing. I think it is. I think it'll launch next year with Breath of the Wild 2. Um, but yeah, that's just what I'm thinking. It makes sense for me anyway, especially with all the problems that the Switch has with the Joy Cons and stuff, and people having problems with that and Nintendo not addressing it. I think they know they're gonna come out with like a better Nintendo Switch, um, and maybe even a better Switch Lite too, because there was the new Nintendo 3DS or 2DS XL that launched like it was like a year or it was 2 years after 2 or 3 years. It was either 2017 or 2018 that it launched, which was 2 or 3 years after the new Nintendo 3DS. So I think if they do launch a second wave of Switch products, which I do think they will do, I think it could be good. Yeah, that kind of lines up with it too because the 3DS came out in 2011, and then 2013 was the 2DS, and then 2017 is the Switch. 2019 is the Switch Lite. 2015 was the new 3DS. So that's 4 years later. So that'd be 4 years later for um, the Switch Pro if it was to come out next year, and then 2 or 3 years after that would be the Switch Lite Pro or new Nintendo Switch Lite, which is too many words. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. So if I do call it with this, so um, 4 years after the original release is the Pro version, then yeah, I expect a free one. Nintendo, you better send me a free one. That'd be cool. But that's getting off topic. But yeah, I just think if Final Fantasy VII character gets in, it's gonna be because of a new Switch launch. Let me get some water here. Hold on. ASMR, kind of, not really, but yeah, that's just what I'm thinking. As to who will get in Smash Bros, I have no idea. This is just like a short sample size, on my opinion, on this subject. Um, so let me know in the comments below what you think about all of this. Do you disagree with me on the when the Switch Pro and the Switch Lite Pro are going to come out? Do you disagree with me on what they're going to be called? What about Breath of the Wild 2? That's release date. But most importantly, like the meat of this video, do you think that Final Fantasy VII Remake will come to the Switch? Or do you think it will be only on the Switch Pro? It'll be like a Switch Pro exclusive. Do you think that, like with the Xenoblade Chronicles on the 3DS? Um, Man, that's like a whole nother discussion there. Ooh, I gotta talk about that later. um, and so so what do you think? Do you think Tifa and Sephiroth are the most likely characters to get in? And do you think they can get in without a new Final Fantasy, without the new Final Fantasy game coming to Switch? I don't think so personally. I think um, Tifa or Sephiroth, I think they're the most likely, and I think they don't get in unless Final Fantasy VII Remake is put on Switch. And I don't think the Final Fantasy VII Remake can run well enough for people to actually consider buying it. Um, I don't think that will happen unless they put it on a Switch Pro. It'd be like Mortal Kombat 11. That was just terrible on Switch. I don't think anybody like seriously, when they were like, if somebody had like all consoles and a PC, I don't think they seriously thought about buying Mortal Kombat 11, especially with like Joy-Con drift. Like so many people experience that, it's not even funny anymore. So let me know what you think, and yeah, have a good day. This is the MULCHCAST, episode 1. Peace.